Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Science of B2B. I'm Kerry Cunningham, and I head up research and thought leadership at Sixth Sense, and I'm a former Serious Decisions and Forrester analyst. All right, so this is the last in the series that we're calling the reality of B2B. And a lot of this is based on research that we did that's published in something called the Buyer Experience Report that you can get on our website at sixthsense.com/research. What we're going to talk about today is, so the theme is water is not wet. And the fact of the matter is, it isn't wet, and especially not one molecule of water. If you have one molecule of water, you're not going to get wet. In fact, it's going to take, millions of molecules of water to give you the sensation of being wet, but the sensation of being wet is actually in you, not in the water itself. Anyway, one drop of water, not good enough, or one molecule of water, not good enough to make you feel wet. Why am I talking about that? Well, because one lead is not good enough to indicate that there's a buying process. Having one person fill out a form on your website tells you nothing about what their company is doing. Now, by chance, some small fraction of the people who fill out forms are actually part of buying processes that you want to notice and you want to do something about. But we know that that's a very small fraction because we've got data for years and years and years on this. In fact, back when I was at Serious Decisions and Forrester, we looked at literally hundreds of B2B companies' lead development and management processes, and the typical or the average lead conversion rate from time somebody fills out a form to revenue is about 1%. If you want to know how many of those leads get to pipeline, which is probably a more fair measure, it's tops 5%, maybe 10% for some organizations, if they're doing a good job. And so it's a very, very low success rate thing, this form fill lead. Now, I want you to know, I'm not talking about people who fill out a form and say, contact me or give me a demo or I want to buy from you. I'm talking about people who fill out a form to look at your content. If they filled out a form to look at your content, that's exactly what they did. And it doesn't really mean anything about what their companies are going to do. All right, so let's think about this a little bit. One lead, no good. Terrible, terrible signal. But in prior episodes, we talked about the fact that when an account is in market and looking at your solutions, evaluating you as a vendor, at least 2 people from a 10-person buying team are going to come to your website and fill out a form on average. What we also saw is that from an account that's going to buy from you, the actual one that's going to buy from you, 3 out of those 10 people are likely to fill out a form. They told us they filled out a form on your website when they were going to buy from you. So what that tells us is that when you have one lead from an account, you don't know what's going to happen. And you might go chasing after it, but it's not likely to be a buying process that you're chasing after. If you have 2 leads from an account, there's a much, much, much better chance that that account is in market. And if you have 3, much better. And then every lead you have from that account, in addition to that, just decreases the likelihood that that's an accident and just noise, and increases the likelihood that that account is actually in market. So what we strongly recommend is that you set up a mechanism to notice when you have multiple leads. And I got great news about that, because in our buyer identification report, which you can also get on our website, what we report on there is that marketers said 74% of the time that they notice when they have multiple leads. I hope you who are watching that are in the category, but if you're not, then I'm really glad that you are watching this. You need to be doing that, right? So you can do that with good old-fashioned lead to account matching that's been around for a long time. You can also use a tool like Sixth Sense or others that help identify when multiple people are on your website looking at content. You should absolutely do that. And if you're not doing it today, you should sort of drop everything else and make sure you take care of that. That's the best buying signal you can possibly have. So the lead is dead, but long live the leads when you get multiple leads from the same account. Now, caveat there. If you're getting leads from people and they're filling out your forms just to see content, you should stop doing that also. Every time you make somebody fill out a form, you're limiting the number of people who are going to see your content. In a prior episode, we saw that 30% of people from that buying team are going to fill out a form, but 50% of that buying team are likely at some point to reach out directly to a vendor that they're going to buy from and ask for more information or have a conversation, right? So more likely to actually reach out to you than they are to fill in a form to see content on your website. So get rid of the forms. It's not helping. We're going to have a conversation where we talk a little bit later about what are you going to do? Because I know everybody's question is, who are we going to call? Who are the BDRs going to call? But what I'm telling you right now is what they're doing when they fill in all of those forms that you have on your website and you follow up on those is they're wasting time. They're wasting time chasing after people who are not in market, or if they are in market, are not ready to talk to you yet and aren't going to talk to you until they hit that 70% mark in their buying journey. And when they do, if you've done a good job of impressing them, if they've seen all of your content and have fallen in love with your solutions, they will contact you. Now, I don't want you to wait for that. We'll talk about what else to do, but in the meantime, get rid of the forums. All right, so we're going to start digging into the intent series next and look at why you need to be doing a lot more than just even bundling the leads like we talked about today. So I've mentioned a couple of the reports. Look for them on sixthsense.com/research. There's all kinds of resource there for you, and it's not gated. All right, thank you, and see you next time.